As I stood on this balcony looking at the city, the traffic, the people walking by, the car, the tourists, the public transportation, and everything that was going on. In my mind, all I just kept saying was the situation that Cuba is in. If I was in this situation, would I perform the same way as they are? If I say yes, I will be lying to you. Because it's kind of like we watching a sport game on television. And the people who are just spectators, they're screaming or they're getting angry at the professional players, the people that's actually on the field. Like, hey man, why don't you do this? Hey man, if that was me, I would have done better. I would have done this. But the truth is, it's all BS. One of the key thing about life is this. In order to perform something, we have to know it. You could be a doctor, you could be whatever. If you don't know something, you cannot perform it. So when they say people are what's in their mind, that's really what a person has been performing for a long time, or how to be in that situation. So because of that, I look at the Cuban people as people who have come from a lifestyle of hustling. You have to be a hustler to survive in Cuba. If you are not a hustler, I don't think you can make it. When I say hustler, I'm talking about the people that I saw making money. The people that I seen using manipulation in order to find something to eat. Even when most of the stuff that was being done to me, I understood manipulation. Sometimes I let the game play, be played just to see what the outcome will be. And there was really just one time where I was not really aware of what was, happening until the last minute. Then I find out, oh, this is this. So that moment actually taught me something about myself, which I'm grateful. And that's a lesson that I would never forget. And because of that, I appreciate the people who try to do whatever it is that's necessary. They're not stealing stuff from people. Well, I don't know if there's anybody who got their stuff stolen in Cuba. Well, actually, I do know. It was one person that got their stuff stolen in Cuba. And they got their stuff stolen in Cuba because I think they were going to Cuba. They went to Cuba to find love. So, trying to find love by playing with literally prostitute, not somebody who's pretending to be a prostitute, but somebody who is a prostitute. You see it. I saw it at night. That girl was walking by selling sex. So she was a proud prostitute. So big up to her for selling the coochie. She was proud of it. So you cannot shame somebody for selling something that they are proud of. People who try to hide the stuff, and then when you bring out the word like, hey, you're a prostitute, they get angry, but you're playing the same game as the prostitute. You're ashamed of your profession. You shouldn't be ashamed of your profession. Because if I was to book somebody who knows about prostitution, and I offer a certain type of money, the girl who hides to be a prostitute would not come to do an interview with me or to not come talk to me about prostitution. They would think the money is good, but they will hide. But if they know what it is that the professional prostitute knows, they wouldn't be ashamed of it. So that girl that stole the guy's money was a prostitute. He allowed the girl to come into his house and he started falling in love. I don't know how you could fall in love with somebody who is constantly trying to manipulate you. Well, that is kind of what marriage is. Somebody, I'm not gonna lie, man. Cuba taught me a lot about prostitution. Just I question the whole prostitution game and this thing that people call love and call marriage, call everything. Because you're seeing the game being run by people. And as the performance keep going, you're noticing what's happening. So I got to the point where I had to respect the hustler for trying to survive. Is it a bad thing? It depends, man. Me, I don't see it as if somebody is selling pussy. I don't see it as if they're honest about it. I don't see it as something that should be ashamed of. But if they're not honest about it, they're hiding behind the words like love, or it's a scam. It's an emotional scam. That's another form of scamming, which is an emotional scam. Somebody telling you that they're in love with you, but the only act of love that has to be performed in order for them to keep thinking that you have to buy them things. So is it really love? Come on, that's not really love. That's prostitution hidden in manipulation. But a lot of people don't know that. There's a lot of people, like I said before, there's a lot of people who actually are married to a prostitute, but they don't know it that they're married to a prostitute. They call it love. If you ask them what is love, they cannot define what love is. They have a hard time. Anyway, that guy got his money stolen. And at first we felt bad, but when you look at the condition, like really, really, come on, it's like as men, we gotta have good friends that can tell us the truth and tell us what's happening. But if your friends have noticed that you don't like the truth, you don't like the face, words, and action, or lifestyle, or certain lifestyle being spread on the sheet to show you what this lifestyle is, and you don't like honesty, they have to let you go do what it is that you got to do, because some of us, we have to get burned. Something very tragic has to happen in order to grow up, since words simply just don't mean anything. And being in Cuba allowed me to see why the movie Scarface, Al Pacino was from Cuba. At first, I used to think it was just a way of America, USA, United States, downplaying Cubans by putting them in the role where the character is a criminal. The character comes from Cuba, and then all of a sudden they come to America, they makes a lot of money. But what I had gained to understand is you have to be a good hustler to make money in Cuba. So because of that, the movie is still, it's still some part of just degrading people, but the hustler part, the mentality of a hustler, knowing how to make more money. If you just look at the state of Florida. The state of Florida is filled with what island is, run Florida? What island runs Florida? Politically, business-wise. Once you find out the answers to that in Florida, Miami, all those big cities. So you see where the hustlers are coming in, and the hustlers are taking over a city. The hustlers are taking over a country. Well, not a country, a state. Because Florida affects U.S. elections, right or wrong, right. Now, Florida has money, right or wrong? Right. Now, Florida, the people who runs Florida, the majority of them are descended of who? There are all kinds of islands there, but the people who are actually playing games, political games, in order to put a policy into power, we all know who they are. So because of that, and the only thing that I kind of like felt that was bad with the whole politic games is the game that Florida plays towards Cuba. I kind of see is, even though it's one government versus the other government, but the people who are suffering, the people who are going through a hard time, the people who are trying to figure out how they're going to get meals, the people who are trying to see how can they have a family if something is not being done about this condition, or the citizens, you know, that made me feel like, man, that it's like a cold world that we live in. You know, you got one part of you on the other side playing against you because of power. And let's play the devil's advocate. Even if the people who have money in Florida, they wanted to come to Cuba to create a business, how would they make money? So the whole thing is just, it's like a mind-blowing experience. And I'm glad that I went there to see it, to meet the people, you know, to run into stories of somebody being married, but his wife is out there selling sex so to tourists so they could have more things in life. You know, it's like it's a hard pill to swallow. You got married, you was thinking, oh, everybody's gonna be faithful, everybody's gonna be doing this, and then you have no choice but to come to a realization, even if you do get paid from the degrees that you got from the university, it's still not enough in today's world because everything costs more than $30. So since everything costs more than $30 and you are making $30 or $40 per month by having a degree, somehow money is going to have to be created in order to afford shoes. Yes, speaking of shoes, the majority of the people that's walking down around the streets, they told me, you know, I met people, man, that put me on game, they put me on stories that I could not believe. If they was to raise the bottom of their shoes, you would see a crack line running right through the shoes. So when it rains, waters, you know, if somebody is walking in the water, in the rain, they are going to get water into their shoes because there is crack. And there was a girl that I was with. Now the shoe look okay from the top, but when you flip it, you look at the bottom of the sole of the shoes, that's a whole nother story. So you got people going through a lot of time, you know, a lot of hard time, and the only thing that I kind of like wish was different was the economy. The economy could have been a little bit different, but it's not my position to try to change any policy in Cuba. I was only there for vacation, you know. Well, it was a vacation, not in the sense of a vacation, but it was a vacation in the sense of me learning something about life, a really important thing about life. And I came to understand that just because you see somebody homeless does not mean that you could do better at being homeless. That's what I learned from Cuba. And it has given me the time to respect what Cuba is in sense of its people being strong, being able to go through the worst condition you could ever go through for so many years, but you still able to smile, you know. Here in America, if you was to tell people, forget about what you're going through, you have to smile. Depression runs so deep here in America. Is some people don't even think that depression has to do with thinking. When you are always depressed, it is hard. It's running through your blood, and when it's running through your blood, it's decreasing your level of performance towards many things that you could be so great at. You look at the public education. The public education, it's like, yeah, they go into school, they borrow some money. Yeah, go ahead, print them a PhD, give them something. And then when it's time for that person to actually have a conversation in regard to what it is that they went to school for, they start to stutter. It begin to stutter when they run into somebody who didn't go to school for it, but thought themselves. They can't really explain and be on top of that level of providing information or educating the people. So anyway, that was Cuba, and I enjoy. I'm still enjoying, and I have nothing but respect towards the people that I've met. And even though the racial division is very in your face, you could feel it, that there is a big racial division between people of different phenotype. All right, time to step out and just be on my business.